Hello everybody, hope you're doing well. It's Lane here with MetaShackle. Today I'm just going to go over some of the best calls that I made in 2024. This isn't all the calls I've made, and obviously all the calls I made didn't end favorably. Nobody's right 100% of the time, but I did make some incredible calls, and a lot of them were way early. I started to see a lot of patterns forming, and a lot of us were thinking that 4-year cycle that we've seen was going to play out again, but obviously you want to be buying these at the lows so that you can get the absolute best return on your investment. A lot of them were trades, but the vast majority of them at this particular time were coins that I was buying at the lows to put in cold storage to hold long term because I was working full time when I put these out. But since August, late August, I actually suffered a pretty bad back injury, so I've actually been laid up since that time. So since about September, I've basically just been day trading full time. This is one of the first calls that I made. All of the charts that I'm showing you here can be seen on my page on TradingView. The link is in the description if you'd like to go check them out. Now this is one of the earliest calls that I made. I posted this chart on March 2nd, 2024. The headline is, Bitcoin is developing the largest cup and handle of all time in crypto. Now, you can see that the price when I posted this was $61,703. And if you saw my last video, you've seen the updated version of this cup and handle chart. Now, at this point in time, the cup had formed, but it still had not even started to form the handle. So I based this prediction on key levels using some of my trickery that has to do with grafting. And let's see how this played out. Beautiful. I actually guessed these levels here way in advance, trying to estimate where the handle was going to be. And you can see it formed the handle. Granted, it didn't come down to these levels, but it still played out in a similar W-type fashion before breaking out. And I actually ended this, if you look at it, you can see I ended the fifth wave right here at about 109,000, which was pretty close to the all-time high that we ended up setting. So that was a pretty damn good call, and way earlier than anybody else was even talking about it. Now this was my Tron call. It says TRX cup and handle breakout on the daily chart. I made this in August. Now, the price was about 14 cents when I picked off this cup and handle pattern. And once it had broken out of this and was up touching the rim line, I knew the odds were as it was probably going to break out and make a pretty substantial move. So let's see what's happened to the price since then. So as you can see, it broke out perfectly, almost retested the rim line. But from the 14-cent level, this ended up going up as high as about 45 cents. And right now it's trading at 27 cents. So you can see that was a perfect breakout. Just textbook. That is an incredible profit. You know, if you can turn something from 14 cents and get out anywhere in this range here, you're doing very well. So that was a really nice call and made quite early before anybody was even thinking the bull run was going to start. TRX was already showing signs that it was going to get well ahead of the bull run. Now my next call, this was made in September 5th, was Algorand. Now I made a chart here that basically boxed out a lot of different things, the highs and lows, different times, time periods, trying to get an idea when this was going to break out. And basically my theory was that we were going to start seeing something similar that had played out in these patterns here, in these boxes, in this box here. And I actually even drew out kind of a guess of about how I thought it was going to move. And you can see that the price of algo was trading at 11 cents on September the 5th when I released this. So let's see what happened to the price here. So it broke out pretty nicely, came up, almost touched that upper trend line prediction. And we've seen it go as high as about 60 cents. But this chart is really just getting started, so we're going to have to revisit this one towards the end of the year. Now this is the total crypto market cap. Now I spotted a cup and handle on this, and this chart was released on September 7th, and you can see this clear cup and handle formation. Strangely, a lot of the cryptos were forming cups and handles around this time, so I was kind of hunting for them. And basically I just kind of made a guesstimate based on the size of the cup and put an estimate up in this range and put an arrow and just wrote soon. Pretty basic. So let's see what's unfolded. So now it's broken out of the cup and handle, and although we're not anywhere close to this 6 trillion that's marked out here, we are still sitting at about 3.4 trillion. And since it broke out of the handle, it's basically added a little over another $1 trillion worth of value. So that was another great call in the breakout a little early. This was one of my best calls. Tesla is looking to make a run for $345 during the 5th wave. Made this on September 12th. Now you can see here at the time I made this prediction that Tesla was trading for $227. Now what I saw was a pattern here that had formed earlier on the charts back in 2021, 2022, and it seemed to be repeating this same thing, and it made a big move. So this entire premise of this trade was based on a repeating pattern that had happened back during this time frame in June of 21, where it broke out here and then set an all-time high up here, measured out by these Fibonacci's. Now the price had actually created a false breakout here to where it had actually fallen back into the pattern and was testing the upper trend line again and just starting to break out when I made this call. But I called $345 when it was trading at $227. And this played out perfectly. Went right up to the upper levels of these Fibonacci's, hit the 786, which was right around my price prediction at the end of this arrow, and actually even did one better. Bounced off of that line and went even higher, as everybody who follows Tesla knows, and even blew my projection out of the water, which at the time I thought was a little high, and hit levels up in the 487 range. But I was right on the money for the breakout, the retest, hitting the number I'd predicted and going well beyond. So that was another great call. Now this was Velo. Made this call on September 12th, well before the bull run got started. Velo is readying itself for a spectacular move. Now what we ended up having here was a cup and handle type pattern. I see these often. They play out similar to this, so when I spotted it, it just kind of seemed like it made sense. But I knew it was going to fall back into this area most likely, testing off of these Fibonacci levels and then running the price up somewhere in this range, most likely along this trend line here. And let's see what it ended up doing. Boom, played out perfectly. Fell back down, hit right at those lows, right at the 786, broke out, it went up, bounced right off of the trend line, and has fallen back to the price that we see now. Back when this cup and handle breakout prediction was made, it was at about $0.015. It's now trading for about 3 cents, so about double. Here's H-bar. H-bar is forming a massive 31-month cup and handle. Made this prediction on September 13th, 2024. Right here at the lows, which was so beautiful, because if you look at it, it was trading right around 5 cents when I posted this chart. And I know it came down just a little bit lower than this, but I thought that it could come down to even one of these Fibonacci levels if things got really ugly before the breakout. But to where it was trading in this wedge, there was probably a good chance that this was just a fake out right in this area. So let's see what happened. We went from 5 cents. It bounced right up off that lower trend line, came right through, and went straight up into a beautiful bull flag. It came up, hit the 702 perfectly. So from the 5 cents when I made the call, right now we're trading at 29 cents. So that's a hell of a pull there. 6 banger. Beautiful, beautiful call. And subsequently, this was about the time I stacked all the H-bar I've ever bought. I bought in one lump sum right around this range. I can't remember exactly what it was. I'd have to look at it, but another great call. An XLM. This was September 15th. XLM Stellar is looking very good in the short and in the long term. So, let's see, the price was trading about 9.69, right in that range. And this is what I call a falling star pattern. It's something that, it's one of my trading models are based on this pattern. Because a lot of times when you see this, the breakout will occur right here off of this point. And it looks like a 5-pointed star, which is why I call it the falling star pattern, because it's usually a falling wedge, and then a wedge creates within that, creating that star, and then you'll usually see a tip up or a breakout around this point. So let's see how this played out. Boom. Came down, touched that wedge, bounced right off of this lower trend line in the secondary wedge, and went way beyond the Fibonacci levels, as we well know, and has since traded as high as 63 cents. It actually came up to these higher Fibonacci levels here at this upper trend line in the long-term pattern. So I still think there's some room to go here, because when we back tested, we went for the median range, actually back tested off the 618 right here and is bouncing. There's a really good chance, usually when you get rejected off the 618 and you come back, you'll go back to the 786, which means that we could probably go right back to this 75 cent level. And if we get past that, hold on to your horses. So that was another great call. Here's XDC. This was made September 16th, 2024. Back when the price was trading for about 0.27 cents towards the bottom of this descending wedge pattern. And it was obvious that it was going to start gaining some ground. And it was pretty obvious if it broke out of this wedge, odds are it was going to hit this orange line right here. So I figured if it did break out, it was going to repeat the same pattern and at least wick up and touch this orange line right here. And good chance it was going to hit these fib levels, but if it broke through this orange line, it was definitely going to come up to these. So let's see what happened. Boom. Perfect. Came up and traded exactly within this Fibonacci range, even bounced right off of the orange line as predicted. Another great call. Shiba Inu. Said Shiba looks to be finally gaining some ground after just shitting the bed forever. Made this call on September 19th. It was basically stuck in this wedge pattern, and then when it fell down, it was creating another wedge pattern. Each time it fell down, once it came out of the wedge, it created the bottom for the next wedge, and it came out, created the bottom for the next wedge, and did it again. And at no point during this did it break out of the upper trend line on any of these patterns. It tested it here, it tested it here, but then we for the first time saw it tip out right here. So it was pretty obvious we were about to see some momentum moving in an upward direction. So when I made this prediction, it was trading at 4 zeros, 14.14. Let's see what happened. Broke out on that exact point. It was a great call. Came out, busted out of this wedge, popped out of this channel right here, retested the top trend line of that channel, gradually started working up, actually went within this Fibonacci level here, and almost got to the 786. So it's gone to the 4 zeros, 33.04. So it's more than doubled since making that call. Another great call. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Made some really good calls in 2024, hoping to make some even better calls in 2025. But one thing's for sure is we are going to see some amazing things this year. So put your seatbelt on, because we are going to the moon, and in some cases, depending on which crypto you're talking about, perhaps even the stars. So thank you for watching. Have a great day.